Welcome to the 7 Cents Podcast, where we go beyond dollars and cents to unlock the mindset beyond the money.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Macklin, aka Money Mike, the financial Thanos, because I'm snapping my fingers and I'm turning your financial problems to dust.
And I'm Coach R.L, your money mindset coach. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in.
Guys, this is not your average financial podcast. We're breaking down money myths, mindset traps, and economic game plans.
We keep it real, raw, and relevant, from micro money moves to macro financial shifts.
This is a 7 Cents podcast where your mind meets your money.
Hey, welcome back to the 7 Cents. You know how we do. We get straight into the business, man. So I got one, just like we talked about in one of the other episodes, that's just pretty controversial. And I want to just open up with it. Supporting Black businesses, is it hurting or helping you financially? And so that's really what we're going to get into, dive a little bit deeper into what is buying Black and understanding that these small businesses prices are going to be a little bit higher, but what is the cause and effect of supporting these Black businesses? So I just want to throw out a statistic real quick. So it says, this is according to the Brookings Institution, Black-owned businesses make up only 2.3% of employer businesses, despite making up 14.2% of the population. So that means that a lot of people right now aren't buying Black. But if you look at corporate spending, you can see that they have a chunk of Black buyers. Why do you think that is?
The first and foremost thing that I always hear, and is very unfortunate, is that a lot of Black-owned businesses are not looked at as professional as other businesses. A lot of people say they have less than great experiences with Black-owned businesses. I don't know if it's like a personality type thing or what it is, but I think that's one. And then number two is African Americans, for whatever reason, like we're always looking for the cheapest thing versus necessarily maybe the best thing. That's where companies like Amazon and people like that are winning, because they have so much volume that they can afford to offer much lower prices than, let's say, the smaller businesses that, you know, are just starting out, maybe not have as much capital to work with, and they can give you those low prices that you're looking for. But what we're not understanding is the deeper look at this, and that is we have to learn to start buying for value and not necessarily for price. And I think that's where the Black-owned business is getting a lot of the flack from, is we're not perceived as having the value that basically justifies the prices, and our customers are going somewhere else.
Oh, that's really good. I think another piece to this, though, is that there's a microeconomic and a macroeconomic aspect to this, right? So when we talk about really on the lowest level, hey, I live in a hood and it's hard for me to afford some of the things that I need, my basic needs. And sometimes even clothing, right? My basic just t-shirt, underwear, socks. But in a macro perspective, we've also let these other organizations infiltrate our hood already, right? So essentially, we're going to buy what's convenient. And when you talk about the convenience store, how many Black owners do you know own convenience stores? We talk about the beauty supply. How many Black owners own the beauty supply? Now I see it happening, but what happened is people understand the value of Black consumers, but they haven't correlated that with the Black business. And so you're always going to have a disconnect until you step up to the macroeconomic level and say, hey, our community needs to work together. And this is a conversation that just needs to be had. Our community needs to work together, and this is how we're going to do it. And one of the other things, and I think we'll touch on that as well, is just because we sit down and we agree that we should buy Black, it is about value, the macroeconomic perspective of value, but the part that we're actually missing a boat at, that I want to buy from you, but your business and customer service fucking sucks and your products are falling apart. So how do we fix that? And that's not all Black businesses. But that is one of those consistent things that you hear. Either the customer service, the maintenance of the facility, or the maintenance we call it the maintenance, but the cleanliness of the facility, and then the product. Because I'm not gonna say 9 times out of 10, let me not throw a number on it, but more than likely they have something that was exported from somewhere else, meaning that if And we talk about it from a macroeconomic perspective. If I buy from you and then you don't buy your wholesale or product from another black person, you have now taken that dollar out of the community. So I have to trust you to keep it in the community. And in that trust, we have a mutual agreement that this dollar stays in this neighborhood. And everybody is like crabs in a barrel. So how do you fix that mentality? Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to make it work, is building that culture. And I talked about it before. Black people, our culture is not that old. And every time we have a leader, they take our leader from us. So how do we come together with the leader and make a decision all going in the same direction?
First and foremost, I say, obviously, I'm always going to start here first in the mind. It's everything starts in the mind first. You have to look at the bigger picture of what we're trying to have happen here. You have to look at the mindset that we've carried for so long, and that's a scarcity mindset. We have a mindset of just, there just isn't enough. And that's because of how we've grown up in lack, and the neighborhoods already don't look great in a lot of black neighborhoods. Not to say all, a lot of black neighborhoods are traditionally, they're not very clean. They're not very well organized. A lot of other races have infiltrated these neighborhoods and taken a dollar away. So the first thing we have to do is we have to understand that we have the power to affect that change. We have to, in our own minds, have to stop looking outside of ourselves for what we need. That's number one. And we have to take more ownership in that actual community and not just rely upon the system or whatever external resources. And I always say this, life imitates art. And it's the same with us as individuals, as humans, not even just people of color. We have to learn to start taking more internal ownership of how our life goes. Even the way you interact with people, a lot of times is more of a response to the external things, instead of you just saying, okay, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to move. And so a lot of times we don't think in those terms. We don't think in terms of, okay, it's my responsibility to make this happen. I have the power to do so, and start moving in that power, and stop looking for external relief, external sources to start making that happen. We have to start looking internally in ourselves and know that we can make this thing happen for ourselves, or it never will.
I know one of the things that you mentioned earlier, is it fair to compare them to Walmart and these other stores that can give you a reasonable price and makes logical sense when you're budgeting and you're on a tight budget? Is it fair to compare black businesses to these giant conglomerates?
That's a hard question to actually answer. Let me be honest with you. In my honest opinion, I don't think it's fair. It sounds really bad, but this is the truth. This is what we're doing. The majority of black owned businesses, I don't think they've reached those same heights as the Amazons, the Walmarts, things like that. I know a lot of black owned businesses that are doing well, but and God, I hate to say this, but I don't know. I guess today is just a day. I'm a ruffle a lot of feathers today, I guess, because they say there's business and then there's black business. You know what I'm saying? And is, for whatever reason, like, we get put in like a lower category. Like, black business gets put automatically into a lower category to begin with. I'm going to use I'm going to use an impartial metric there and just say, just overall revenue stream and things like that. Yeah, I don't think that we can compare black owned business to the mainstream businesses, because again, most revenue streams don't reach that level of the Amazons and the Apples and the Walmarts. They don't reach that level. And I don't know if it's a issue of those glass ceilings that people talk about sometimes, where you're only allowed to essentially get so high. And it makes me glad that we're talking about this today, because maybe that's something that we look at as black businesses. Are we unfortunately the victims of those glass ceilings? In my deep down core opinion, especially in America, I do feel like those glass ceilings do exist. I feel like they only let you get so far because of things like access to capital, access to resources, things like that. I don't think that we always get the same access to the resources that could propel us to that point. And without trying to jump subjects or get too far ahead of what we're talking about, I really think that's why oh boy, I lost my train of thought just that quick. But the point is, yeah, it's difficult to compare black owned businesses to the mainstream businesses, just because it's almost like comparing small business to big business. Like, what ends up happening to small businesses is they get bought out by big businesses and then they no longer exist.
That's
So
fair.
that may be,
No, hear me out. Hear me out. Now that's fair, but there are different aspects of businesses where black businesses can succeed. I would say some of the biggest parts of where black businesses can succeed is number one, outstanding customer service, because our culture is so much different from any other culture. If we could be welcoming to our business using our cultural norms, we would be head and heels over any business established. I would feel more comfortable walking in any black restaurant than I would McDonald's, hands down, or fucking Chick-fil-A. If I got invited to a black restaurant and they greeted me and how they greet me at my grandma's house, you know what I mean? I would be
no,
head
I
over
feel
heels to
that.
show up to that place every single day. The other thing is we have to look at it from a value perspective too, right? Because the comparison between Walmart and Shay's cocoa butter from down the street is she's using all natural products. A lot of times these black companies have high quality products and they are going to cost more, but they are higher value, meaning that if it's up to me, I would put a black budget, buy black in my budget just to say, hey, I usually get the Dove soap. The Dove soap costs $7, but I think I'm going to have to eat the $3 somewhere else because I want to buy my cousin's all natural cocoa butter straight from Africa because it's better for my skin. I don't have the chemicals. I don't plan on getting sick from this like I do all of the other ones. It just has so much, many more health benefits. And the part of that I see, especially in a lot of these small markets, is that people are starting to take their health seriously. And in taking their health seriously, people are really getting educated on these products. And so when I see some of these smaller businesses that are coming up, I see a lot of them doing a great job of educating. I think the other thing that will take them over the top, and I feel like now I'm getting into business coaching. Go there. But it'll
Hey, go
take them
there.
over
Yeah,
the
let's
top
go.
is A, the customer service. And then B, one of the things that we talked about is actually building a team around them to allow them to grow that business. Because although Shanae's cocoa butter is one of the most amazing things ever, she's making the cocoa butter and doing her taxes and answering all of the emails and building her own website. And if she got a shop, she cleaning the bathroom and she's setting up her own table and she's burnt the fuck out. And if I needed a case, she couldn't get it to me, and Walmart can. So as we explore growing as a business, as a black business, we need to explore growing as a network. Even the statistic that I brought up at the beginning of the show, only 2.3% of black businesses employ, right? Out of the 14%, like black businesses are struggling employing people. And that's another reason why Walmart has an
Yes.
advantage,
Yes.
because not only are they taking money from you, but they're taking people within a community, putting them in a place to make money, really just so they can spend it back. But that's how they're getting the money. If you look at it from that perspective to say, hey, if I employ people in a community, that will then allow them to buy in the community, and in turn, the community will buy from me, then I'm going to make more, because that's the nature of the beast. When you look at other communities, that's how it's done. When we figure out how to communicate and network within that pool of success, I think that's when we'll grow, and the comparison will start to make these big companies nervous.
Yes. Something else I was going to say about that, because a point that came to my mind as I was listening to you is the affordability to be able to keep up with these big companies. Shanae may start out at the beginning, like you said, all natural products, things like that. But also, like you said, Shanae is also doing everything within that business. And I think that's where my last point connects to this point, is how the small businesses start out. They have fantastic products. And most times, if it was up to me, I would shop more small business anyway, because most times they put more, love and things into their products. When you get into big business, you don't always have the luxury of time, or I'm not going to say you don't have the luxury of time, but time is not always, not time, but quality sometimes sacrifices itself
Yeah.
because you're trying to hurry up and pump out the product as opposed to, all right, let me take the time to actually make this product properly. And I think that's where when that small business makes that transition to the bigger business and now able to do those things, I think that's quality starts to get sacrificed because now you're more looking at systems and getting more of your product out there. And I think that's where we lose that we lose the quality, and we may gain the profits, but we lose the quality. And I think maybe that may be something that's pushing us away from those black owned businesses because it's almost in a sense like you end up selling out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And you're changing your morals, you're changing your values. And so you're no longer focusing on the quality of the product. And so now, yeah, we're looking elsewhere now because like now your product ain't what it used to be.
Yeah, and I think really what it is some of the things that I see in businesses and how they're operated is that we let me say we because it's not a they, it's a we. What
Right.
we try to do is grow quickly and not scale. And I say that to say that most people that are working in that individual grind all the time, really, for me, they're probably making the money, but putting in more time doing it.
Yes.
They haven't looked at how to sacrifice the noun dollar for the scalability.
Yeah.
Because if I make nothing now, but while I'm scaling, I end up making 5 distribution hubs that can do this, the money's going to come in. But
Yes.
I'm so busy trying to cover my overhead and my bills that I'm burning out doing that. And then in turn, the quality, like you say, in a product is there, but there's no level for growth in it and expansion. And the other thing that I want to mention is from a consumer perspective, that is time is also another piece of that, right?
Yep.
Because I will sacrifice quality if I can get something faster. And that becomes a convenience thing at that point, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's where a lot of struggle comes into play too, is you're playing that balancing game of time versus quality versus money. And you'll get caught up in that if you allow it. So those are all things to consider in this equation, but sticking to the point. Yeah, we really gotta, we as the customer, I guess that's the way to look at this. We as the customer have to consider those things a little bit more and maybe look at the bigger picture of, okay, hey, listen, if we're going to succeed, one, maybe we need to exercise a little bit more patience in that process with that business. Cause like we both said, the quality I don't think is the issue, but I think they have to price that where they have to price it because of they're in the initial phases. They can't afford to sell it at a lower price just yet because they're not where they need to be just yet. But that's where the consumer has to take that look at that and maybe put themselves in the business owner's position and say, hey, look, Shanae gotta get to this next level. So for us to support her, hey, look, pay the extra $1, $2 or whatever to help her get to that next place. And in turn, her success ends up
Yeah,
helping us.
for sure. For sure. So let's get into a solution segment
Okay.
before we close out. So what are some strategies that, let's say I'm a black person, I am a black person, but let's say
You're definitely black, Rob.
I am a black listener right now, and I
Right.
want to focus on black intentionally. How do I do that without affecting my budget?
Okay, I think you touched on this earlier when you were making your point. I think the first thing that we have to look at is look at the budget itself and understand that what a budget is. A budget is simply an allocation of your funds. So if we're wanting to help, that black owned business to do well, I think the first thing we do is maybe we say, okay, hey, look, let's adjust this budget a little bit. Let's say to ourselves, okay, maybe I'm buying Starbucks every day, coffee. Okay, maybe I take a couple of days off of that, you know what I'm saying, so that I can pay that extra $3-4 to the black owned business there. You're getting a better quality. You're getting the community support. You're keeping the dollar in your community, and you're not affecting your budget. You know what I'm saying? And that's, to me, that's the simplest way. And when I do my coaching, that's one of the first things that I talk to people about is your problem isn't that you don't have the money. Your problem is how you're allocating that money. So let's look at, okay, how we're allocating our money. And okay, if we want to truly support this business, we don't necessarily have to sacrifice anything. It's just you have to do some tweaks. And that's just that applies not only to helping black business, but that's just personal finance in general. Is that you have to you have to have that flexibility in your pocket and have that eyes on to notice, okay, hey, look, where am I, where are the holes, I guess, in my boat? If you, and it's okay. So for this instance, let's find those holes so that we can participate in something that, again, is going to not only help us, but help the community. And
Yeah.
that's my first thoughts on that. Let's look at our budget and say, okay, where can I shift this to not, ooh, and this, I hate to jump points, but I'm going to do it anyway. But this goes to mindset as well, because a lot of times people talk about what they can't afford. And I hate that word. Stop saying what you can't afford and instead say, how can I afford this? Give yourself that mental flexibility to say, okay, yes, her product does cost a little bit more, or his product does cost a little bit more, but what changes, what adaptations can I
Yeah. How
make
can I afford
so
this?
that I can afford this? And that no longer becomes a factor. So I
God,
think strategy number one would be, again, that mindset
mindset.
shift and say, okay, hey, listen, let's look at how I can make this happen versus Walmart is opening or offering this for less. So I can't afford you, Shanae. So I might have to go to Walmart. I'm sorry. I
Right.
think we have to take that out of our mindset and look at the greater good.
I 100% agree. I have a little bit different strategy, and I think that's good from the consumer. But I think this is a collective. I believe,
Okay, we looking at both sides. I got you. I got
yeah,
you. Come on.
yeah. As a strategy, I think it's good to be intentional about saying, me personally, Robert, the Black consumer, I am going to be intentional about buying Black.
Yes.
Then my step two is, I want to be a part of the success of certain businesses. So if I get to see them face to face, I want to talk to the manager and I want to know where my dollar's going. Hey, how you doing? Hey, we're not trying to get in your businesses, but do y'all buy these from different Black owned businesses? Are you getting this from a Black owned butcher? Do you have contacts to a Black farmer that distributes these? I want to be intentional about where I'm spending my dollar, not just give it to a Black person so they can do it, whatever with it. But I want to be intentional. So I want to have these conversations because, number one, what I'm doing is planting a seed in the business owner's mind. And he might think I'm nosy or he might be pissed off at my questions, but it's going to make him think about a Black farmer. It's going to make him think about a Black distributor. And then that in turn will start to spread the network, and will start to plant the seeds. Now, when you're planting these seeds of thought, I really think it's up to the community leaders too, your mayors, your aldermans, your representatives, to openly have these conversations about what's going on in the community and how the community can stand together economically. Like, I don't be seeing those conversations had, but I be seeing schools close. I see those conversations had, and nobody says, hey, can we redistribute these dollars into our neighborhood? How can we keep these dollars into our neighborhood? And how can I, as a individual, then using that mindset strategy, take my dollar, put it into the community, knowing that it'll stay here for sure.
No, I love that point. And that's looking at it from a more macroeconomic standpoint as well. You're expanding the viewpoint to not just, okay, the consumer, but that has those second and third order effects. Okay, if the the butcher, as the business owner starts to look at the components of his business as far as, okay, am I myself participating in the same thing that I'm trying to encourage my customer to do? I think that speaks more volume as well. Then we start to get the politicians involved, because now, we're starting to put people in those positions that actually represent our interest and that actually know us. A lot of these politicians don't personally know a lot of these people that they dealing with. So it's like, how do I address your concerns if I don't really know who I'm dealing with, what's going on down there, whatever. So it opens the door to a lot of other things that we could talk about, not only the Black owned business itself, but just the community as a whole. So I definitely could see the wider the lens in that, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
with those questions.
As we close out, are there some things that you are working on in your business that you want to share with the listeners?
Yes, actually, with this whole larger approach to economics, personal finance, things like that, I want people to start looking at a wider mindset. And with that, I'm actually offering what's called a 60-day financial reset, which actually gives you the opportunity to sit down, take a look at your finances, and give a more strategic approach to that, maybe we look at the bigger effects to that about how supporting Black owned business will help not only the business, but you as an individual, how you actually work with what you have to create the financial freedom that you're looking for. If that's something that you're at all interested in, I would definitely recommend you to go ahead and check out my website that will be in the description. It's thegreenorder.com/60-day reset, where we'll actually sit down and take a look at that. That is something I'm cooking up right now, is to really get us thinking more strategically in our finances, not just to pay the bills. And it's funny because I was talking to my nephew today. They actually just left town. They were in town and they left about an hour ago, maybe. And I was talking to him about his plan for his future. What does he want to do? And a lot of his responses to me reflected the mindset that I hear a lot of times. And that is that a lot of people are just, their concern is just paying the bills. And I was like, you have to think beyond that. You have to think about, okay, one, are you even doing what you want to do? Like, you can't put yourself in a position to do it, just constantly be doing what you have to do versus what you want. And so that survival mode mentality is also something else that I address in the 60-day financial reset. Is we have to adjust that mindset so that you can see beyond just surviving and you can actually see how to start thriving.
That's dope. That's dope. And you know me, I rock with you. So I want to help everybody get to that mindset, and I want them to know that it exists for them. But the same way that you're saying that, as they need to know that it is a self-starter thing, though. It's a self-starter mindset. Like, you can help them do that, and I can help them do that, but they have to want to do that. They have to want that for themselves. Now, I can give you all the possibilities, and again, I can plant the seed, and that's why I love plant the seed, let people's mind grow. They start looking around, the blinders start coming down, and they start to look around, and then they start to have the conversations to say, hey, Rob, I really hear you, or hey, Mike, I really hear you. And now I'm starting to understand it. I'm starting to see it. When I'm looking into Black businesses, I see it, right? Now their mind is open, and they're ready to then commit to the journey. And I know as I work, that's part of it, but you're doing a great job, man. Continue to plant that seed. So until the next episode, we are over and out. Appreciate y'all's time. You just tapped into the 7th sense, where the mind meets the money and the legacy gets built.
It's your boy Money Mike, the financial Thanos, snapping one myth at a time and leaving no financial lies standing.
And I'm Coach R.L. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in. If today's episode gave you game, make sure you rate, review, and share it with someone.
Hey, follow us on all platforms and keep the conversation going, guys. DM us your questions, your myths, and your money wins.
Until next time, think deeper, move smarter, and keep building.
This is the 7th Sense Podcast. We out.